Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking, and today we're going to be looking into some more MechWarrior Online here. Before I dive into today's competitive build, I want to offer you guys a bit of an apology, and the reason for that is I placed a video of same variant, same mech, same everything the other day, but I was missing something. And you guys caught onto it very, very quickly, which I'm super appreciative for. I completely forgot to even consider ferrofibrous armor. And I'm not even going to make an excuse. It's completely unacceptable in my eyes, and that's where my apology comes in. To me, it's unacceptable to put something out there that really shouldn't be out there, that isn't really all-inclusive of how I made it out to be. And so I took that video down and decided, you know what, I'm going to start this entire video from scratch. You guys deserve it. Whether you're coming here for just general information, tricks, tips, tactics, builds, whatever the case is, you guys come to this channel for one reason or another. And to me, it's substandard leaving something up there like that. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to completely redo it, and I'm going to dive right back into the nitty-gritty, go through every single aspect of this mech all over again with the new modified build. I'm taking into account what I should have done from the get-go. I have you guys to thank for pointing it out, and I really do appreciate it. So we're going to go back through this build yet again, except this time, I promise you, it's going to be an even better round of gameplay. For those of you who saw the first video, this one's going to be even better. So I have to make up for it in some capacity. So not only am I going to make up for it by making sure this is a better video all around, I also decided that for 2,000 subscribers, I am going to release another Majestic series build for you guys. I was thinking about it for the longest time, and I just, I said I want to put another one out there for you guys. One that's private, that I keep to myself in the personal garage of Majestic, me. So I want to share that with you guys once I hit 2,000 subs, along with another giveaway, which I do have to announce rather soon before I hit that mark. But again, I do apologize for the fact that I missed that. It's to me, I took it personal, the fact that I forgot something so silly and simple like that, not even considering it, mostly because, a majority of my builds in MechWarrior are filled to the brim, and they don't include ferrofibrous, but this is one that does, and it can, and that's no excuse to even, mention that that's how I typically run my builds. So I hope you guys can, forgive me for that. A little bit of a slip-up. Everyone's human, so, I'm not going to take it personally too much, but I did want to at least offer you guys an apology for those who did see the video. And now we're going to dive into the real Hunchback 4SP competitive build right now. So let's first go over the hardpoints: 0 ballistic, 5 energy, 2 missile, 1 AMS, nobody gives a shit, and 0 ECM. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, especially for all competitive players, is what quirks are involved with the mech. What else is involved that will give me even the slightest bit more of a competitive advantage out there on the battlefield? And this little guy has a ton of quirks to boot. So let's start from the bottom up. Medium laser heat generation. It's only a 5% bonus. So I'm thinking to myself, if I want to fill out all those energy hardpoints, both missile hardpoints, I'm going to have to mess around with the heat a little bit. I might have to make some adjustments. It might be mediums. It might be, small pulse. It might be smalls. Depending on, how much I can fit and the heat capacity and the heat management on this mech, that's what's going to dictate how I fill in those hardpoints. So that was the first thing that I realized is, yes, I would like to fill it with all mediums. That would be great, but I have to take into account the heat. Next quirk, SRM 2, 4, or 6 spread. The reduction in the spread of those missiles is 10%. So automatically that triggers in my brain saying, well, if this quirk is reducing the spread by itself, I don't have to spend extra tonnage or extra C bills converting this mech into an Artemis build with the missile hardpoints. So that was something that was definitely a critical aspect of this mech in figuring out exactly how I wanted to build out the missile hardpoints. So the SRM spread, regardless, you could obviously put LRMs on it if you want, but considering the quirk is catered to the spread, it's telling you that you should be using SRMs on it. This is the only Hunchback inner sphere variant that has dual hardpoints in, dual torso hardpoints, in other words. So a majority of them, whether it's the 4P, the 4G, the gridiron, they only utilize that right torso with an astronomical amount of firepower in that right torso. But for this guy, he utilizes both torsos. So that's certainly another advantage of taking this guy out there on the battlefield. As for the rest of the quirks, missile cooldown of 30%. So whether you do decide to, go the LRM route or the SRM route, the cooldown reduction is 30%, which is astronomical. It definitely takes into account the fact that, if you are using those SRMs and either mediums or smalls or whatever kind of lasers on there, the cooldown, they'll be more in sync. They'll probably fire off more seamlessly, and which is certainly a better aspect, or certainly a better build to have out there in the competitive landscape. Along with the missile cooldown, you have missile velocity, 10%. So you get a bonus of how fast those missiles are traveling, a bonus of 10%. So not only are you cooling down faster, but they're reaching their target 10% faster. In addition to that, you have energy heat generation 15%. So regardless of what energy weapons you place on it, you get a bonus of 15%. And then an energy cooldown bonus on top of that of 10%. So really, whatever you place on there, the cooldown is going to be astronomical. That the heat generation is certainly going to be more beneficial. And you even get, velocity bonuses and spread bonuses when you're looking at the missile hardpoints. So obviously, if I want to fill out this mech completely, I'm thinking either mediums and smaller. Those are my two options. Obviously, I'm not going to put 5 large lasers on this thing. It would essentially melt from the inside out. So I'm thinking to myself, in order to save tonnage and heat, it's going to be either smalls, small pulse, or mediums. So let's dive into the actual build that you will see if you enter this competitive landscape, most likely in an MRBC kind of setting. So obviously, catering to the quirk specifically, the SRM spread is critical. So I put 2 SRM 6s, one in the right torso, one in the left torso. No Artemis on here because of that spread reduction bonus. As you can see, as you hover over it, the spread reduction bonus, again, 10%. So I figured, I don't need to spend, again, the tonnage or the C-bills converting this to an Artemis, loadout mech. As for the energy hardpoints, I first started with mediums, and considering the fact that in MRBC, how they're structured is they'll give you a little bit of a setup. So it'll say 0, 0, 0, 0. That's the format that they place it in. Essentially, is describing 0 light mechs, 0 medium mechs, 0 heavy mechs, and 0 assault mechs. So whatever you fill in, that's how many of each weight class you could fill. So if it says 4, 4, 0, 0, it's 4 lights, 4 mediums, 0 heavies, 0 assaults. If they say 6, 2, 0, 0, it's 6 lights, 2 mediums, 0 heavies, 0 assaults. And I mean, you get the rest. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 of each weight class, so on and so forth. But so the majority of the time that you will ever see this guy out there on the battlefield is either in a 6-2-0-0 or a 4-4-0-0. So essentially that's saying all medium and light mechs is when this is used in a competitive landscape. And when you are actually engaging for MRBC in these, light and medium matches, they all turn into this chaotic death ball brawl. And, all the mediums are firing off as much as they can to get the lights crit. The lights are trying to take down the mediums and other lights, trying to get the competitive advantage from that, that perspective. So that said to me that this mech has to be short range and extremely short range. you have no room for error. You cannot afford to overheat. If you overheat in the middle of that chaotic death ball, you're going down. You're going to pop, faster than you could say popcorn. And, they're going to see that too. As soon as you cool down, the lights especially, they're like heat-seeking missiles that come right out of it. It's like they look for the medium that's shut down because they know that you're packing that little bit of extra firepower from a close-range perspective, and they know that you're firing off usually an alpha. So they see that you're shut down, and they take advantage real quick, and you have no chance. So that to me said, okay, I'm not going to go with the mediums. That's too risky with the heat. Small pulse. Extremely short range, extreme, from a perspective of, being out there on the battlefield in the competitive setting, you have to have extreme short range on this build. So I decided to go with the small pulse. They still take up a ton of this mech in the build, but it's more short range. It's more conducive to use them from a heat management perspective, along with the SRMs, than using mediums. And the smalls, you could use them, but you have a lot of extra tonnage, and in order to fill out the rest of the mech, tonnage-wise, slot-wise, and everything, the small pulse is just the best way to go, and it's proven out there on the battlefield. So whether you guys actually agree with this build or not, if you enter the competitive landscape, this is what you're going to get. And if you try and tweak and modify it, I can guarantee you probably will lose. So I'm just giving you the facts. So whether or not you guys decide to go in the competitive landscape or not, this mech is intended to be, a light, well, it is a medium, but it's supposed to be out there to brawl against mediums, intercept them, and really engage them in close quarters. So let's dive into the rest of what I did with this thing. I crammed on the biggest engine that you could possibly fit in the mech, a standard 275. It goes 96 kph. This is a completely mastered mech for competitive purposes. Again, those 5 small pulse, 2 SRMs in there. And this, again, is the only inner sphere variant of the Hunchbacks that utilizes both torsos with hardpoints. So, this definitely is special from that capacity, because if you blow off one torso, you still have the other, and it's still like half of your build that you get to work with. So coupling that with the quirks that are involved with this, it's honestly a perfect and flawless mech to take out there on the battlefield in the competitive landscape. I'm going to try and emulate that for you guys in the pug queue, but we'll have to see how it pans out. And again, I do promise I will record night and day until I get the proper footage for you guys, because you deserve it. So let's dive into the rest of the build for it as it is. 50, well, it says 49 out of 50 tons. That's just a little glitch there. You can't fit anything else on this thing. 49.9 out of 50, or 50 out of 50 tons. 77 out of 78 slots filled. 338 armor hardpoints filled. This entire thing is filled to the brim with armor. Because it's close range combat, you're going to be in people's faces. You're going to get a lot of face time with this mech. 1.37 is the heat management out of 2. It has 13 double heat sinks, and now that I've adjusted for that ferrofibrous, you can add an extra ton of SRM ammo if you'd like, but I prefer to go with the heat management instead, because in the competitive landscape, 2.5 tons is really the critical amount that you'll see, in this build out there on the battlefield. The rest gears towards just making sure it's heat efficient, so that you can constantly fire off that alpha, cool down quicker, and stay in an engagement mode for a lot longer. So I went, again, with what you should be doing in the competitive landscape, and once the build is there, it's all about the heat management. So that's what I did. I crammed another double heat sink on there. So it has 13 double heat sinks, a 45.8 or 46 point alpha if you round up. 96 kph with that standard 275. It's not an XL build, so obviously putting the biggest engine in there and not having an XL to worry about, you don't have to worry about popping at all. It's perfect. And that's the reason why you put a standard 275 in there, because you cram as much, of a standard engine in there and it fills up a lot of the tonnage. But on the flip side, this is meant to be a short range mech, so your tonnage allocation for the rest of the hardpoints really caters to it perfectly. Caters very, very nicely and complements it essentially in the best way you could possibly desire from a competitive perspective. So again, it has a max engine on there. This is the cream of the crop that you're going to get. You can't fit anything else on this thing. Now, before we actually dive into the round of gameplay, the modules on this thing are essential, and I don't suggest deviating away from what I did with this thing. And this is what you're going to see. Advanced seismic sensor. You are extremely close range. So you need to know if there's anything within that 250 meters of range from your mech. And, especially in an MRBC kind of situation where it might be just you and another guy left. And if he's trying to sneak up on you, you'll be able to have the competitive advantage because you both know that you are short-range brawly builds, and you can pick up where that guy is before he can get that shot off on you, and hopefully maybe even be, the hero of the round and get that final kill shot. So the advanced seismic sensor, highly recommended. As it says in the description, allows detection and identification of enemy mechs via vibrations in the ground. You must be standing still. So it's within a 250 meter range that you'll be able to sense any mechs that are around you. Radar deprivation. Radar deprivation is essential because if you're at close range, and you want to, dip in or dip out behind a building real quick, hopefully lose someone, or at least, just get their missile trail off you, their lasers off you, so that they can't figure out where your critical components are. This is what it's for. As soon as you're out of sight, an enemy loses target on you instantly. So that is critical, especially I guess it translates also into the pug queue, because in case you're getting targeted by LRMs and you hide behind a building, obviously they can't hit you anymore. And you're getting a lot of face time with this mech again. So definitely keep that in mind. Radar deprivation, another critical module to have there. Weapon modules. SRM-6 cooldown, a bonus of 12%. So between that and the small pulse laser cooldown, again, 12%. These are level 5 modules. So it's adding another bonus to my SRMs and my small pulse lasers by an extra 12%. So if you couple it all together, as I had said, I'm just going back to the screen so you guys can add it up for yourselves. Energy cooldown is going to be at 22%. Because the energy cooldown bonus of 10% plus the small pulse laser cooldown now of 12%, so those will stack to get 22%. And then the missile cooldown will be 42%. Absolutely insane, especially because of the fact that this missile cooldown quirk is 30%, then I'm adding that extra bonus of 12% with the SRM-6 cooldown module. Two critical modules, especially when you're making sure that you're maxing out your heat management, to place these on there and knowing that you're going to be firing off these hard points consistently, constantly, rapid fire in a competitive, MRBC type of setting. It's essential, and it really adds that extra, that little bit of a competitive advantage, even more so than you already had with the quirks. So just keep that in mind. These are the weapon modules that you would want to place on this mech. And the last one, because this is a mastered mech, it has target info gathering, which is critical. When you're short range, extremely short range in this scenario, you want to know every single thing you can about the target that you're looking at as quick as you possibly can, and hopefully crit those components, get this guy down as fast as you can. And that's what target info gathering does. Decreases the amount of time required for detailed targeting information by 25%. So you get a 25% bonus on figuring out which components to go for than if you otherwise didn't have this module on there. So it's absolutely critical to have it, especially at a short range perspective. In a competitive scene, you're locking targets constantly, and you might be switching targets constantly based off who's dead and who's, you're not in your line of sight anymore, or who's bothering you. You might have to switch up targets. So to have this on there and speed up your targeting information by another 25% is absolutely critical. So all encompassing, this is the competitive build for, one of the short range competitive builds that you will see out there on the competitive landscape in, matches such as MRBC. Absolutely critical. Now for the consumables, Cool shot 9x9 and an improved airstrike. And the reason why I decided to go with the 9x9, actually it would be even better if you put the 18 in there, the cool shot 18x18 or whatever it's called. Just the cool shot 18. If you put, but it costs MC, so obviously maybe use it only for competitive reasons to put the cool shot 18 on there. But I placed the cool shot 9x9 on there because I do not want to spend MC on cool shots. So I have the 9x9 and the improved airstrike. And the reason why I put the improved airstrike as opposed to the cool shot 6 is because of the fact that the 6, yes, it does give you just a little bit better, heat reduction. But if you can land a solid airstrike in that death ball that you might be in, yes, you want to crit components on the enemy lights, and especially if it's just you two left, and you could, place that thing down, and he's running through it, he's trying to chase after you, and you could use it as kind of like a scapegoat to get out of a tough situation. That's what it's for. It's pretty much a last resort, and if you see, like, either they're all grouping up or they're trying to reform and get a flank on you guys, something like that, if you could place it down and even deter them slightly, they might not all be on the same wavelength, and they might scatter, and then, that puts you guys at an advantage. So that's the reason for the 2 consumables. The 6x6 really doesn't, it's only a 10,000 C-bill consumable to place on there. So, and it translates, obviously, into how effective it is out there on the battlefield. Obviously, if you do just want to go for even more heat management, definitely use it, but I found the airstrike, when acceptable on the competitive landscape, is a better consumable to use overall. So that is the overall explanation on this guy, the Hunchback 4SP. So now I think it's about that time that you guys have all been waiting for. Let's head to the battlefield. Here we go, guys. Hunchback 4SP competitive build launching into the queue. Here we go. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Our first and only round is going to take place on one of my favorite maps in the game, HPG Manifold. Negative 10 degrees Celsius is the ambient temperature. Certainly a little benefit for us from the heat management perspective. Now, from a range perspective, a lot of the engagement does happen around, around the manifold. So that's certainly going to work out in our favor. But here we go. First off, especially in the early stages of the round, a lot of the engagement happens from medium to long range, and we're going to serve as a dual threat out there on the battlefield. We have 2 roles actually to play. First, we're going to make sure that our Kodiaks, or Kodiak assaults in general, we have a lot of Kodiaks, Spirit Bear, a 3, and another Spirit Bear, along with a King Crab. We have to make sure that they actually make it to the engagement. And so what we're going to serve as is a light interceptor. If we see any of those ankle biters coming around, trying to peel off some armor off our big boys, we need to be there, and we're trying to get there as fast as we can, just in case they decide to make a little bit of a flank in from Delta 4, Charlie 4. And we're behind them, so that works, but once we actually make it to the battle itself, once we actually are on the battlefield, on the front lines, if we are on the front lines, we need to constantly check that mini-map. We need to make sure that the rest of our team is behind us and that they will support us. Once we get that all squared away, then we can actually amplify the damage for them. So if they decide to go on the front lines, then we need to make sure that we're behind them and, amplifying the damage in that case. But one thing we don't want to do is try to trade at long range. It's just not going to work with this build, obviously. And from the perspective of making sure that everything goes according to plan, well, I don't know. I mean, as you can already see, we have one of our King Crabs, messing around over there, doing his own thing. Ooh, and we got the Kodiak 3 up there.
Target acquired.
Alpha's out in the open now. Get some shots off on them. Not going to push too far forward. Just a bad move. They put a UAV up right on us. Right there. There it goes.
New target acquired.
A Jester out there, off to the side. We have Seismic in Delta 4, Echo 4. They're very split up from the looks of it. We're going to take out this Warhammer if we can. I'm going to hop down. Get him! Get him! Yeah.
Critical. Left torso critical damage.
Oh no! Ah! Ah! Stalker! Get the stalker!
Heat level.
Oh, I got him! The fact that that actually worked and somehow I didn't get punished for it is amazing. No! Not an Atlas!
Warning.
No!
Incoming.
Ow! That hurt.
SRM destroyed.
You wretched being! Get him! Get him! He's gonna come right around here and I'm gonna be saying hello. Gonna pop off his armor if I can.
Target.
Yeah! Good night.
New target.
And now we're behind the Black Widow. He's all kinds of messed up. Our team is so scattered right now. We're just going for the first thing we see.
Target destroyed.
Nice. There he goes.
SRM ammo at 25%. Heat level critical. New
Oh my gosh, this might be our demise. No! Oh! Yes! We got him! Oh my gosh, this is so intense. Look at my torso! It's like a frickin' cherry. Is that the only guy? No, there's like 3 of them left, isn't there? I think they're all underneath. Yeah, they've all got to be underneath. He's got to be right there.
Acquired.
That Kodiak drops. Yeah, he's dropping! We're going with him! Eek!
SRM ammo depleted.
We gotta help out!
Target acquired.
Yeah! Yeah, get him! Get him!
Target destroyed.
Yeah, I got him! Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh, wrong team. Wait, was that him? Oh no, it was the wrong team.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I saw the cicada and the shadow cat and I was like, it's gotta be one of them to shoot! And he didn't die, so no harm, no foul, but oh my gosh. 858 damage, 4 kills, 3 assists. All 4 kills we did the most damage, and as you can see, we only did 21 team damage. Thank God that guy survived, otherwise I would have felt horrible. But the result speaks for itself, ladies and gentlemen. Holy cow, I know I overheated and stuff like that. Dire situations. I mean, if you look down on the mini-map, I was trying to stay with at least someone, pick a target. I thought everyone was helping out, you know, in different scenarios. Some of them were focusing on different targets, and I just had to pick one. And as you could see, whoa, this Kodiak 3, I think he might have been the one that I was with for the most part. 1,100 damage for him and 800 for me. I mean, it's kind of hard to lose when you have 2 people doing almost 2,000 damage, ladies and gentlemen. So from that perspective, and then look at the even distribution. 2 guys doing 500. Wow, this was just a fantastic round all around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is to make up for last time. You know, obviously I was trying to stick with whoever I could, whoever I knew was around. We had to get that Warhammer out of the way. I know it was a super aggressive approach, but I think the rest of my team saw what I was doing. And as I said, once we get to the front lines, we need to look at that minimap. And I saw them up on the manifold with me. I dropped down. I took the risk. I took a huge risk that they were actually going to come to my aid and help me out in getting down that Warhammer, the Atlas, that Black Widow, the Stalker, everyone. Even when I shut down, the rest of my team helped me out. They got that Stalker neutered to the point where he couldn't even do anything. I was shut down, staring against the wall. He could have easily taken me out, but I owe a lot of credit to my team for helping me out, really getting in their face, providing that support. That amplification of the damage is so critical and so awesome when you actually have that kind of collaboration in the pug queue. It's fantastic, and the fact that I even survived, it speaks in and of itself. I mean, with this build, you know, if you break 500 damage with it, it's considered an awesome round. Especially especially in comp play. I mean, if you're doing 500 damage against only 8 opponents versus 12, that's phenomenal. But from the pug queue, you're dealing with long range assaults, heavies, all these guys that are probably in your face, and you have to find that little niche, carve out that little niche for yourself. And this guy just packs so much punishment that it's kind of hard to shy away from it. And all the modules came into effect. The seismic, I knew where everyone was. Once that Kodiak dropped down, we knew we had to help him out. We got right in their face. We took down the Mauler. Then it was just the Cicada left. And really, at the end of the day, the results speak for themselves. And I'm just going to leave it at that. If you guys decide to make this one of your primary builds, it is certainly rewarding. Especially on maps like that where there's a lot of obstacles, short-range engagements once the battle starts to unfold. And it's awesome. It's just so much fun to use this guy out there on the battlefield. Totally underused for me because of the fact that it's so short-range. So I usually only use it for competitive purposes. But every time I go back, I get these flashbacks of how awesome it is to run around in this guy. Even the fact that it's just the only inner sphere hunchback with dual torso mounts. That's pretty cool. That's really cool that it has its own little niche out there on the battlefield. And, this is the competitive hunchback. This is what it encompasses from the range, from, the heat management, everything. So, again, thank you guys for pointing it out from the last time about the ferrofibrous. I'm so glad that I redid this entire video and you guys could see it in its full effect now, even better than before on Crimson Strait. So this was really a rewarding video for me to redo, and hopefully for you guys to see in all of its glory in case you decide to take it out there for yourself. So thank you guys so much again for tuning into this episode of MechWarrior Online. I hope you enjoyed this new installment of the competitive build series. And stay tuned. There's so much more coming out, and I really hope that you guys all stay tuned for it. There's a lot that's going to be happening with this channel, and it's all coming up rather quickly, and I'm just excited to be a part of it, and I hope you guys are too. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on the next one on the battlefields, whether it's a stream or in another video. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care.